Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Oppan Gangnam Style.
Yeah, you may just want to get up and dance, but no, it's time for your Flexible Learning Day math lesson. Lesson 513, Equivalent Fractions. Are you ready? Yes, you might be doing your homework or your math lessons in your PJs. I'm not. I'm right now at school, in your classroom, working. So if you have trouble, give me a buzz, or send me a quick email, or message me on Schoology. All right, let's get started. We learned earlier this week that we can have multipliers or dividers to find equivalent fractions. Okay, we're going to continue this and practice putting it into different problems. Here we have missing numerator problems. Okay, and this is what you're going to see a lot today. You're going to have problems that have a missing part, either the numerator or denominator, and you have to figure out which ones they are. So you have to find out what the multiplier is, apply it, and then find out the missing numerator. So if we look at the first one, 1/3 is equal to n over 12. What is the multiplier? We're going from the denominators from 3 to 12. So what is the multiplier that will get us to 12? 3 times 4 equals 12. Again, the rule, whatever you do at the bottom, you must at the top. So times 4 at the top, 1 times 4 equals n. N is equal to 4. The new fraction is 4/12. On the bottom, doing the same thing, but we're going to find the divider, or the divisor. Okay, we're going from a larger denominator to a smaller. Divided by 2. 16 divided by 2. And we can see 18 divided by 2 is 9. 16 divided by 2 is equal to 8. So n is equal to 8. The new fraction would be 8/9. All right, that's how it works. Lots of practice. We've done this for a couple days now, so turn in your books to page 205. 205. Page 205, if you don't have your book, which you might not have taken it home for Flexible Learning Day, that's okay. I've got a picture of the book right here. Just get out a piece of paper. All right, here we have some problems, 1 through 12. We have the definitions of an equivalent fraction, which we've talked about. Two fractions, same value, different numerators and denominators to represent that. Simplify, which means going from a larger numerator and denominator to smaller numbers, but an equivalent fraction. Unsimplify means going from smaller numbers to larger numerators and denominators, but the same value in the fraction. All right. Number 1. Let's do a couple of these together first. We have, make this a little bit bigger. Whoops, there I go. There I go writing on it. Now, finger up, there we go. Now we're talking. All right, we look and see that 4 to 12 is the denominator. So 4 times 3 equals 12. So 1 times 3 is, really is a 3. The numerator is 3. The new fraction would be 3/12, but we only have to write the numerator. Okay, they're only asking for that missing numerator right now. Number 2, they're asking for the missing denominator. So we can see that we need a multiplier again from 2 to 12. 2 times 6. 5 times 6 equals 30. Okay, pause the video, complete 3 through 12, and we'll come back with the answers in just a minute. All right, so check your answers. Make sure that you figured out using either the multiplier or the divisor to get the missing numerator or missing denominator on these problems. This is what we do a lot with fractions. We end up using what we know to figure out the missing numerator and denominator. So we'll be doing this once we have to find common denominators, which is coming up pretty soon. All right, now before we go on to page 206, I just realized I forgot to give you the answers to the homework, so I'll put that in here in just a minute. Be ready to correct your homework. Go ahead and get that out. All right, so to fix my boo-boo, let's correct homework. I'm going to put it up here, nice and big. Okay, pause your video, check your homework, and then come back when you're ready to check your remembering. All right, now here's the remembering page. Pause your video, check this, come back when you're ready to move on. All right, now we're ready to move on to the bottom, page 205. Sorry about that little mix-up there, but we're all good now. All right, so number 13. It says use words multiply, divide, simplify, and unsimplify to complete the statements. One word goes in each line. Okay, so read through them. You can use just the abbreviations, the initials. Don't have to write the whole word. M, D, S, and U. If you'd like to, or you can write the whole word out to what word goes on each line. Pause your video, complete the lines here, and we'll see if you're right. All right. Number 13 says to change 3/5 to 18/30, you unsimplify the numerator and denominator by 6 in order to, whoops, look at me. Even I'm reading it backwards. All right, let's fix that. All right, sorry, you multiply, started writing too fast. Get everything ready. You multiply the numerator denominator by 6 in order to unsimplify the fraction, and to change 18/30 to 3/5, you divide the numerator and denominator by 6 in order to simplify the fraction. Just understanding what is unsimplifying, what is simplifying, and what you use, whether you multiply to go from smaller to larger, or dividing to go from larger to smaller with the numerators and denominators. All right, let's move on now to page 206 in your math books. What fraction of the days were sunny? And then simplify the fractions. We're going to use the chart over on the right, the weather in April. So what we have to do with the chart is we have the number of sunny days, cloudy days, and rainy days. How are we going to turn these into fractions? Well, remember, the denominator is what the total group is broken up into. So how many days are we talking? We have to add this number of sunny days, cloudy days, and rainy days together to come up with the total number of days we're talking about. Well, 8 plus 12 is 20, plus another 10 is 30. So there is a total of 30 days. So what fractions of the days were sunny? We take the sunny days, which is the numerator, 10 out of 30 days. And it says simplify that fraction. Well, I need to simplify it, so I divide. What can I divide both by? I can divide both by 10. Divided by 10 equals 10 divided by 10 is 1. 30 divided by 10 is 3. 1/3 of the days is sunny. 10 out of 30 days is also equal to 1/3, so I can say 1/3 of the days is sunny. What is the advantage of simplifying this fraction? I get more of a smaller, more relative. 1 out of every 3 days is easier to picture than what 10 out of every 30 days is. Okay? Leaving the fraction unsimplified, number 17, lets you know exactly how many days there were that were sunny out of the total. So leaving it unsimplified gives you exactly how many days were sunny. Not just a fraction of days, but the full number. Okay? 10 out of the 30 days it was sunny. 1/3 of the days were sunny. Let's do the same thing with number 18, but now we're going to talk about cloudy and rainy days. So number 18 and 19, write your fraction and then simplify it for both 18 and 19 for cloudy and rainy days, and then come back and check your answers. Pause your video. All right, so the fraction of cloudy days was 12 whoops, turn my pen back on, was 12 out of 30 days. What can I divide both these by? Well, I can divide them both by 3. And that equals 4/10. Oh, that can be reduced even more. Divided by 2, and that would equal 2/5. 2/5 of the days were cloudy. All right, and now we have rainy days. 8 out of 30 days. Let's see, what can we divide both of these by? 2. 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. 30 divided by 2 is equal to 15. And nothing else we can do with those. We have 4/15 is the fraction of the number of days it was raining. Okay. And we move down the page to the bottom of page 206, and now we're going to do the same thing, but the information is coming in a bar graph. So we have to look and see. Again, we're talking about vehicles in a parking lot. There are some vans, some cars, and some trucks. But what is the total number of vehicles in the parking lot? We need to know that so we have that for our denominator. So if we add 30 vans plus 45 cars plus 25 trucks, we have 0, 10. So now we carry the 1, 6 and 100 total cars or vehicles in the parking lot. Okay? So that's going to be our denominator for each one. So what fraction of the vehicles are vans? Well, if we look here, 100 total vehicles, the number that were vans was 30. 30 out of 100. To simplify this fraction, I'll show you a shortcut. We're going to divide both the top and the bottom by 10. All right? When I divide both the top and the bottom by 10, I get 3/10. Now look, what would happen if I took 30 100ths and I just crossed off 1 0 on the top and the bottom? I did the same on the top and the bottom. When I take off 1 0, I'm dividing by 10. And you can see that ends up being 3/10. So a shortcut, when you have numbers that are tens or more, tens, hundreds, where you can knock off a 0 off of each number, that's the same as dividing by 10. So let's look at the next one. What fraction of vehicles are cars? We have 45 cars out of 100. This one does not have a 0, so we can't use that shortcut. But if I divide both of these by 5, divided 45 by 5, that gives me 9, and 100 by 5 gives me 20. 9/20. Okay? Answer number 22 and 23 on your own. Pause the video, and then I'll come back and share those answers with you. So now we're looking at trucks. What fraction of vehicles are trucks? There are 25 trucks out of 100 total vehicles. When I simplify that, 25 divided by 100, we should know that because that's money. That's a quarter out of $1. But we can divide both by 25. 25 divided by 25 is 1, and 100 divided by 25 is 4. 1/4 of the vehicles are trucks. Okay, so if I go back, 3/10 are vans, 9/20 are cars, and 1/4 are trucks. Do cars represent more or fewer than half of the vehicles in the lot? Do cars? Again, we look at cars, and that was the one that was 9/20. Is 9 half of 20, less than half of 20, or more than half of 20? 9/20 is less than half of 20, so we can say it is fewer than half, less than half, because 9/20, the fraction for the cars, is less than 1/2. All right. Now I think we're just about ready to start our homework. All right. I think you're ready. Yep, today what I want you to do is homework and remembering 513, and also I want you to do IXL K.4. IXL K4 is reducing fractions to its lowest term, so it's going to practice simplifying fractions. So find a number that you can divide both the numerator and denominator by and get it to its simplest term. Now don't just do it once. If you find a number, make sure you get it all the way down to its simplest form before you click submit. Okay, because sometimes, like I did in the homework earlier, you didn't find the greatest common factor, but that's okay. You can still simplify again until you get it to the lowest possible terms. All right, good luck bringing back an oldie but a goodie, one you liked before. Yeah, and don't worry about me. I mean, if you're just lounging around the house, casually doing your math and everything, don't worry. I'm at school. I'm at school, keeping the room warm without you. But I'll see you on Tuesday. Good luck. Have a great weekend.